Hello, Internet, and welcome once again to the Free-to-Play cast brought to you by MMOBomb.com, your home for all things free-to-play related. It is November 21st, the day before Thanksgiving here in the United States. I am Mike Byrne, aka Magic Man, and we're bringing the cast at you with I would say special guest, but, well, we'll get to that in a few minutes when we start covering the news. But first, let's go around and see who's celebrating this episode with me. First up, Mr. Jason Winter, how are you?
I think I'm very celebratory. I got the colors. I got the purple. I got the green. I mean, remember a couple weeks ago when I said I bought a sweatshirt for the first time in my adult life?
Yes.
This is the second one now.
Oh, anything on it, or is it just straight purple?
No, just plain purple.
Just plain purple. All right. Any particular reason purple? Your Vikings?
It was like the only one in my size.
Oh, okay. Kind of.
Actually, no, there were some other ones there, but it's like once I have black, I have gray. Let me get something. I don't have anything in purple. So.
I thought you were like really pushing for that Twitch partnership, is what was going on there. Also,
if I can get past my 4 viewers, yeah, sure.
Also on the line, Mr. Zach Sharps. How are you, sir?
I am doing all right.
Man, that lighting,
especially after Lost Ark.
That lighting makes your camera look great. You're looking great, sir. It's good to see you. Told you, ladies and gentlemen, that Zach was not gone, that we just have to be sneaky the way we scheduled things with his job, and we're taking advantage of the holiday week here to get you on, so it's good to have you, sir. What you been up to?
Good to be here. I've just been working in my chosen career path, which is Risk, so I've just been learning a lot, and yeah, so...
Making
been busy.
Fat,
making the big dollar.
Making the fat dollars. Yeah. The fat dollars. Although I did see, you know, hey, did you bail on Activision before things started going down, or are you going to ride that one out?
I'm going to ride it out. Diablo Immortal, as much as everyone hates it, it will make money, at least enough to make back my investment, and then I'll sell. So.
Then you'll sell. And with that, let's go to the news. All right, what do we got here as we wind down what will probably be for most of us in the United States here a 3 or 4 day weekend, or at least an extra day off for most people.
I wasn't planning to come in the rest of the week.
Well, we're all off tomorrow, and then Friday I'll be on for MMO Bomb stuff, but it'll be a little later. I gotta sleep in a little bit because the family does the whole Black Friday thing. The kids love doing that, shopping at 3 in the morning and stuff. So I'll probably get on at like noon or something like that, but I won't be there at 8 in the morning. Speaking of old stuff, like myself, we've got old names making some new games, and it's not just in one place. So typically, you know, we have these new studios popping up, Jason, and we report on them. And, you know, Carbine fell into that, right? That was a lot of old previous Blizzard employees that moved over and made Carbine, and WildStar, God rest its soul.
Is it like a week from today is when it shuts down or something, like the 28th?
Yeah, something like that. They released, here's what we were going to put in the game. Well, maybe you should have put it in the game. I mean, I'm just saying, maybe you should have put it in the game.
Don't bug test this, throw it in there. It's going to be gone in a week.
Right. Well, or put it in when people played. I don't know. I'm just saying, put the content in the game. Right now, I saw their Facebook advertise something like the last whatever event is running now. It's the last time it'll ever run. And I was like, well, yeah, it'll be the last time any of that ever runs. But speaking of ex-Blizzard employees, we have former Blizzard and Gazillion, remember Marvel Heroes fame, developers forming Rhino Games, and they stayed relatively off the radar for a while, but now they are ready to announce they're making a new cross-platform CCG entitled Mythgard, and I am sure that Jason, being the card game guy that you are, that you were standing up applauding when you saw this announcement, right?
Well, to stand up, I would have had not been put asleep by the trailer, so... that would have been part of it, but... It was
less than excitement inducing.
You know what it has? It has factions and also minions and spells. They spell that out in great detail in these big headers.
6 factions, yeah.
But the best one is guaranteed they have a friendly community.
Okay, I'm so glad I wasn't the only one that noticed that when I watched the trailer. But I was like, wait a minute. So here's the details to give you the overview, although none of this is going to surprise any of you that watch the show or follow free-to-play games, particularly CCGs. It's going to have myths and modern world stuff. It has a single-player campaign with some different PvE modes, daily rewards type stuff, and obviously, being a card game, there's PvP with both 1v1 and 2v2. All right, some other games,
that's something, yeah.
Some other games have dabbled in that a little bit, but we haven't generally seen it on a bigger feature scale, so maybe that'll lead to something. Steam, Google Play, the App Store, everywhere you would expect to see this, and closed beta in 2019, early 2019. So now that all the details are out of the way, and if you pause the video here to go watch the trailer real quick and come back, we're going to talk about some things, and I think, Zach, let's start off with the fact that they did advertise a friendly community for a game that has not even gone into a closed beta yet, and I thought that was ridiculous to have included that.
That's the first time I think I've seen, I guess you would say, a more mainstream game promote something like that. Like, you see mobile games all the time, just promote random stupid stuff all the time. But this is a game that's known by, or is coming out by some developers that we know of, that is promoting a friendly community in a card game that most of the time in card games you just use quick chat. So are they going to continue doing that? And that's why it's friendly, or
right.
Why is it friendly just to begin with? Why is that even an advertised feature of a game?
I have
no
idea.
one cares about your community for the most part. Just have a good game, and most people are fine.
Yeah, it's like Hearthstone saying, well, our community is very friendly. Well, yeah, because I can only say 6 things.
Yep.
I'm forced to be friendly. I don't know
Can't
about
have an unfriendly community if you don't have a community.
Right.
Exactly.
I could just say well played, well played, well played. Jason, here's the thing though. I watched the trailer and okay, so we saw some things that I think there was just no way to escape. They're just ingrained now. We saw what looks to be health numbers, power numbers, that type of thing on the cards. But I did see what looked like a much busier landscape than we're used to for these types of things. Like, we've seen Magic the Gathering Arena, the new one, add some flair with voiceover and some animations, and Hearthstone's done that thing too with some certain card animations and things. But it looked like there was shit going on the board anytime you clicked on anything. It just looked super busy to me.
What I could believe, though, is they're showing off a certain video that shows out, here's all the things that happen, it's amazing, and it's bright and colorful, and shit going on all over the place. On some level, it's probably a combination of that, and they're showing off not the most amazing card effects. So there are certainly Hearthstone cards. You play a single card, and it does blam, 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 all sorts of stuff. Probably it's that same thing. I don't think it's any really more or less active than Hearthstone, which, of course, it says it has Magic strategy and Hearthstone pace. So you got to make sure to mention that we're just like the 2 best games out there, or 2 biggest games out there. So, yeah, I mean,
yeah, which doesn't that kind of, when you put that in your advertising, I know what you're going for, Zach, but doesn't that kind of say, hey, if you like those things, then you should probably just stay there and play those things because we're a lot like them, and there you go.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah. I mean, when it comes to CCGs anymore, for the most part, I really just don't care unless it's from someone that's known. For example, I'll get around to playing Gwent Thronebreaker at some point, and also I've been playing Magic the Gathering Arena off and on, which is a very good CCG. They just need to add in some features that should have been in there at launch, and I think they are adding in friend duels very soon, so that's good. But
yeah, you're actually able to play with friends. Imagine that.
Yeah, so there's already a lot of CCGs out there that sort of fulfill what I want from card games. So I really don't care about any CCGs coming out, and I think a lot of other people feel the same way. I mean, that bubble's burst, and I think devs just need to cool down for a bit.
And Jason, I kind of agree with exactly that sentiment that Zach just laid out. I mean, Peter Hugh from Blizzard, Paxton Mason from Gazillion, those are the names we're talking about. These aren't inexperienced names in the field. They at least should be able to keep their pulse on things here, and I just think we thought CCGs were crowded a year ago. all three of us talked on Free to Play Cast that this market was overcrowded a year ago. Now we're a year further. We've lost some of those smaller contenders. Some of them have inexplicably converted from free-to-play to buy-to-play in things like Feria, which, to be fair, that one had a bit of a different little flavor on it. But you've got Magic the Gathering now, and if we're going to include mobile in this, that's a huge IP, obviously. Wizards of the Coast. You've got Hearthstone through Blizzard, huge IPs. You've got Warhammer Age of Sigmar too, through the Warhammer IP, big IPs. Now Final Fantasy, the trading card game, getting there as far as physical stuff, doesn't have an online authorized presence, I should say, yet. But you've got Pokemon. I mean, all of these things, Yu-Gi-Oh, they all have online versions of some type, whether they're exactly legal or not, as far as copyright images go. This, to me, is the wrong time to be going into this. Is it just unfortunate timing, or do they think they really have something different here enough to capture imagination?
I made the joke that they're really capitalizing on that 1995 aesthetic, which it was the year. So we did when I was at Scry, we did the big CCG book. We described everything. We did one in 2001, I think, and another in 03 or 2000, 2002, whatever. In 1993, there was one CCG that came out. It was Magic. In 94, there were like 6 of them or so that came out. In 1995, there were 41. And of those, like one, Legend of the Five Rings, the only one that survived more than like 3 years.
Wow.
Like by the vast majority, they were all just fly-by-night, quickie stuff that did absolutely nothing. So, yeah, I mean, that's how it is. And I think this is just in that pile. I think it's just not going to be that big of a deal.
I'm going to check it out just because of my love for physical card games. Like, even Magic the Gathering, I'd prefer to play physically than online. But I do dabble in playing Octagon for Final Fantasy online and playing Magic the Gathering Arena. I'm going to try it out just because I love mechanics and to see what people are trying in new CCGs. I just don't have a lot of faith, Zach, that there's a lot of new going on here, besides possibly how they implement 2v2. And we saw, I think it was the previous Magic Origins, that had 2v1, right? It was 2 players against a boss monster type thing. Did they actually do 2v2 where everybody was a real player? I can't recall.
Don't think so.
I want to say they had 2-headed giant mode. I'm not really sure what that means.
Yeah,
if it was PvE or.
I think, and if you want to look it up while Zach's commenting here, I think that was 2 players against a boss monster type NPC. But Zach, I don't think this is going to do anything new. That's just going to pull an audience.
Yeah, I mean, neither do I. When it really comes down to it, I would call it a passion project if it was actually original and they were trying to do drastic things different. But it just seems like they're trying to cash grab based off of like current CCGs. Like maybe they saw Magic the Gathering Arena coming out and they're like, oh, maybe there's gonna be some popularity in CCGs, so let's make our own CCG. Or they saw some other ones release and they thought the same thing, like with Gwent and other ones out there. I just don't see this as an actual passion project, which is why I'm so hard on it, because I think that when it really comes down to it, they did it as purely a cash grab. And that's why we're seeing a lot of the same elements from past CCGs without really a lot of originality, because they don't really care to be that original. I mean, they're promoting a friendly community in a CCG. I mean, come on now.
I will say this. We'll leave the door a little bit open here to be pleasantly surprised by us being totally off base and they are doing something relatively unique. That is certainly a possibility. We can't discount it entirely based on one trailer. But
I can.
Yeah, but I think you guys are so negative. Oh, boy. All right. We'll see.
That door is closed. At least Artifact's doing something new and different.
Yeah, pissing people off in record numbers.
There you go.
On to other new companies, new games. I gotta say, Jason, while reading the article here, we're talking about a company called Red Hill Games. Comprised of former World of Tanks and World of Warships talent. primarily global development executive Matthias Miljurin, and I may be butchering that pronunciation, and I apologize if I am. So they're coming out of Finland. They're going to focus on tactical shooter games that are free to play for the PC, cooperative and social play. So this kind of read to me more like things like The Division and things like that, or Rainbow Six Siege, tactical cooperative shooting play. They've also said all the good buzzwords as far as their monetization. They want it to be fair and data-driven development, all of that good stuff. Now, where they go with these titles, what those titles are, when they're coming out, we're going to have to sit there and wait for this one. But I did think it was interesting, Jason, that it seemed like everybody from this company worked for Wargaming or Remedy at some point.
Well, they only said they had, I think, 13 people, and they mentioned like 4 of them by name in the press release. And yeah, you're right. They are from those companies. Who knows where the other ones are from, but I suppose it makes sense, too, that if you want something that's kind of Eastern Europe, I don't know where Remedy is, but obviously Wargaming is centered around that area. It makes sense that they would pull from people in that vicinity who have at least kind of a military background, even if not so much shooters, like, traditional, like I said, FPS kind of games. So, I mean, and you go with who you know. If you're going to start a company, you're probably going to hire on people you worked with and you did well with at the last place you worked at. So I'm not stunned or surprised by it, but
it seems like everybody got a promotion.
Yeah, well, that is true. Hey, you're the guy at the front desk. Well, guess what? Now you get to be the executive vice president of whatever,
Yep. So the former head of this was my favorite. The former head of HR and chief of staff for global development of Wargaming. They're now Red Hill's chief operating officer. So everybody's moving up some rungs, Zach.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm always skeptical with newer companies that branch off of like existing ones that are already successful. So I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, and I mean, there's really not much for us to say at this point. Even their website is pretty bare. They just say, hey, we're a free-to-play gaming studio with industry veterans on the team. And if you're looking for a job, they have jobs posted and get in touch with them and things like that. So, yeah, you got to be... Yeah, you got to be... You got to be overseas in Helsinki, Finland. But keep an eye out. Red Hill Games got a lot of names tied to it, and some people that oversaw things like Quantum Break, Alan Wake, Max Payne. I mean, again, just like our previous story, we're not talking about people that we've never heard of or companies or games that we've never heard of. We'll just have to see how it all shakes out.
The difference is, though, that a CCG you could put together in probably 6 months to a year, whereas whatever Red Hill's working on, I bet at least like 2 years or so before we hear about it.
Yep.
Yeah. This week was surprisingly a big week for esports as far as the news goes. There was a lot of different, not just, oh, okay, hey, the Invitational's going on or this is going on. Not that type of stuff, just like big news in the world of esports in general. And let's start off with boy, that's surprising, but not at all surprising, news that the H1Z1 Pro League is kind of, they're not going away. They're suspending operations, Jason.
Yeah, because basically due to the dwindling player base and interest in H1Z1, which is the words that ESPN says coming from their article, that's what they said, but pretty much been confirmed that it's basically that's what it is. Yeah, because of that, because it's not successful, so we're not going to keep doing it. So it's like, well, there you go.
Yeah, so. Kind of totally makes sense. Okay, fine. But then there was that whole thing a few months ago with accusations of players not being paid. Where's that?
Yeah, I mean, Jace Hall did sort of address that in a live stream about a month ago, saying, we had a deal where we're going to pay. There are going to be 2 splits, like 2 halves, whatever, to the season. We're going to pay the team 7 weeks before the split begins. They did that for the first split. Okay, fine. Second split got delayed, though. It's supposed to start in, I think, mid-September. Yeah, September 15th. So naturally, around the start of August, when we started hearing, hey, people aren't getting paid, whatever, what's going on? Well, because the split was moved and it wasn't going to start then, they didn't have to follow that 7-week schedule. The issue there was that some teams ran into a little financial issues because they didn't get money when they thought they would. Some of their players were, of course, a lot of them were overseas people coming here with not much to do other than play esports, so they were in financial issues. As it turned out, then they were going to move the league to starting in mid-January, which would have meant the 7-week deadline was about now. So that didn't happen, and they basically said, we're just not going to continue it. We're not going to do anything else. The league is, I don't remember exactly what he said. Jace Hall did talk about this a little bit. He said it's not shut down. It's not gone. It's just stopped for now or whatever. I don't know his exact words, but something along those lines. And he did at least admit that he says that they're going to try to still pay their teams by the end of the year. That's going to be the iffy part. Jace Hall has been very adamant about how we're doing everything above board and we're good and we're fair people. It's just happened, whatever. But we're still going to meet our obligations. So now, if that doesn't happen by the end of the year, then we're going to get back in there and, what the heck's going on? So,
Zach, I have never met Jace Hall or even interviewed Jace Hall or anything like that. Have you?
Nope.
Okay. Because the reason I say that for viewers is we always kind of disclose if we know these people personally or have interacted with them. Like I've talked about Scott Hartzman on the show from Try on Worlds and my interactions with him and whether they're good or bad with whoever. All my interactions with Scott have always been good, by the way.
Even
I'm also not a Try on Worlds employee, so, but I just find it almost impossible for somebody in this position to rub me the wrong way as much as Jace does. And I have nothing to do with H1Z1, its esports league, its performance as a game, nothing. I don't even have a gamer's vested interest in that I enjoy the game. This guy just rubs me the wrong way, and I may be totally off base, and somebody's going to be mad at me because they're good friends with Jace, and he's a great guy, then fine. You know him better than I do. But I want to talk to you, Zach, about the statement that he made, because he goes into this whole statement, right, where he talks about somebody's asking him, why didn't you pay the people? Why didn't you pay these people? Why didn't you pay these people? And he's been ignoring it on Twitter, and he says, I've been doing that on purpose, but I'm going to answer it here. And he goes into the whole story about how we're not responsible for paying the players. We pay the teams under the terms of our contract. The teams pay the players, and he uses the NBA comparison, but since we've got Jason on the line, I'll use the NFL comparison. The NFL does not pay Ben Roethlisberger to hit the field and throw the ball around. The Steelers pay Ben Roethlisberger to do that, and the Steelers make money through various contracts with the NFL as an organization for advertising, ticket sales, that type of thing. That's fine. I'm not saying he's wrong. He's absolutely right. But to sit here, and this is the one that bugs me the most, Zach, but I will answer your question. First of all, I personally don't have to pay anybody. Nobody, are you fucking kidding me? Nobody was asking Jace that question thinking that he personally had to pay them out of his own pocket. And he knew that. That was just being smarmy and being ridiculous. The second part of this, Zach, and I'm going to let you reply to this one, is that he points out so that it's inappropriate to conclude the league pays the players. It doesn't work that way. This is the whole thing. There have been some teams that have had some cash flow issues, and in addressing that, they cite the league's shift in its payment schedule because of the second split moved out as the reason why they don't have the money. That gets into a different scenario because all of the teams had to represent a certain financial health to get a league slot. So what he's implying there is that these teams should have been able to make their bills, pay their players, regardless of whether Daybreak held up its end of the bargain for the second payout, because you already have money. You've proven yourself to be financially stable. Not saying, hey, they were probably depending on contracted income from us to be part of their income that they used when budgeting. Zach, you're the business major. Tell me about this. I'm not crazy. He's shifting it, and he shouldn't be.
Yeah, you're 100% right. I mean, when a company makes an obligation to pay someone, a lot of the times the other company on the other end adds that as like an accounts receivable. They expect to be paid at some point. And usually they will have like a percentage that is possibly going to be unreceivable, but it's never the entire piece of the pie. And so when it really comes down to it, Daybreak is, at least when it really comes down to H1Z1, it's a sinking ship. The guy is on the sinking ship. He's trying to make a lot of excuses for why the ship is sinking, but it's just because the ship has a lot of holes in it. And now it's taking on water, and he doesn't know what to do other than make excuses, and they're not very good excuses. And so realistically, Daybreak had an obligation. They should pay it, and it is what it is. They're not paying it.
And they say they're going to. And I bet Jason's licking his chops, waiting for December 31st to see what happens.
January 1st, I'm going to put a story up one way or another. You better believe it.
It's just one of those annoying things. Like, from a legal aspect, he's not wrong, right? They don't owe the players money. Daybreak,
but they owe the team's money.
Right. From a legal aspect, in payment of players, he has nothing to do with that. But it's a real dickhead thing to come out and it's like, it's not the ethical thing to be saying, right?
And complicating all this is the long report from VP Esports, which said they had sources, people at Daybreak or former employees or whatever, who basically just said Jace pissed away money and doesn't work hard and all sorts of other nasty shit about him, which he then went on like a 2-hour stream. I guess he could stream on Twitter or something. I don't know, whatever it was, but he did go on. Basically, apparently refuted all of it. I didn't watch more than a few minutes of it, or a few seconds even. But it's even messier beyond this part of it.
What a catastrophe! What a just an absolute mess of a situation here.
Is it time we downgrade Daybreak from a AAA publisher? Like, are they no longer a good enough company to be warranted?
What have they produced in the past, like, couple of years? Like, nothing.
More EverQuest
They've just shut stuff down.
To both of them.
They've shut stuff down and they maintain things, and they're not even maintaining things very well anymore. So,
yeah. I just, here's the thing too. I don't know a lot about Jace. Jason, maybe you do on this aspect. He was kind of a jerk from everything I've seen before he was with Daybreak. This was a hire that confused me.
I was honestly not aware of him before Daybreak. That said, he seems like the kind of guy who could sell ice to Eskimos, that sort of thing.
Ah.
Where, he will talk about everything and promise everything, it seems like.
Including payment. Yeah, this one bothers me. It's kind of like, I understand that my employer is not the one that pays the electric company to keep my electricity on. But I'm gonna be pissed at my employer if for some reason the check I depend on to pay said electric bill does not arrive. You don't get to... what a mess. More esports, though. On the good side, Zach is going to be gunning for $1 million in Fortnite, right, Zach?
Totally. I am just gonna build and build and build and just shoot all them heads. We're gonna do it. 1 mil.
What is this? The Winter Royale. What the hell is this even?
I have no idea.
It's like a whole new thing. So they're testing some World Cup stuff before they get to the World Cup next year. That's a while away. So they're going to use another competition to test things for that by holding a Winter Royale Open competition using the new tourney system in Fortnite. So you'll be in like solo test events with the Royale qualifiers, get high scores, and try to make it to the finals in December. And Jason, you'll be walking away with $1 million, or part of $1 million prize pool, right?
Are you kidding? For $1 million in Fortnite, Epic should be offering like $20 million. They can afford that.
Yeah, right.
I'm not going to play for just $1 million. Christ, forget that. It's not worth my time.
If you want, streamer makes more than that in a year. Hell,
right? If you want,
probably make at least 10 times that.
If you want to take place in it, Europe's finals will be November 30th through December 1st. The North American ones will be the 11th through the 12th. But starting on the 24th is when the competition using the tournament system opens. So that's where you have to start doing your solo events. I'm pretty sure my daughter will be all over this. She's a huge Fortnite fan. She still hasn't won one yet, though. Still hasn't won one yet. She's 11. I've seen her come in second a number of times, but hasn't taken it home yet. She does that, and I guess she takes after her dad. She does that, oh my god, I might win, and then, oh my god, there's the person, and the scatter shot all over, like, you could make their outline on the wall behind them with my bullets. Yeah,
that's why I did like the first game I played of what was it, Radical Heights. I did that. I came in third. It was the same thing, but I was third.
Me too,
and
Jason.
Just those other two people, I was just like, ah. Like I was stalking one guy, and the other guy came up behind me and killed me. I was like, damn it.
So, Zach, you're on the West Coast, so let's throw this one to you. The high school esports getting a bit of additional funding here through Play VS with Sean Diddy Combs, the Adidas, the LA Dodgers, all kind of investing into the second round of financing for Play VS. Now, I'm not very familiar with what Play VS does. Maybe one of you two are. I know that they're involved in like all the tracking of stats for different esports titles, and now they're moving that into high schools. Not everywhere. Right now it's Alabama, Mississippi, and some of Texas is that they're moving into. Already they're in Georgia, Massachusetts, Rhode Island, Kentucky, and Connecticut in the spring is when everybody will be in there. And they have all different like club leagues and stuff like that. But yeah, all your West Coast people there, Zach, getting in on some esports funding. Maybe they could pay H1Z1.
I'm actually Central now, so.
Oh, that's
right.
right.
I still identify as a West Coastian.
I still identify you as a West Coastian.
Exactly. So we're all good here, but I don't know any of these companies really. I mean, obviously I know the LA Dodgers, but I really don't know anything else going on here. Esports wise, all I know is the top streamers, the top teams, and that's pretty much it. And obviously that they should get paid. So.
Yeah, you know, I'm on their site right now. I'm on Play VS site. First of all, despite those investors, they don't have a market in the West. Farthest west they have is Texas.
Interesting.
So I don't know what that means. Well. The program benefits are character development, STEM engagement, because esports players are often interested in the STEM classes and programs, blah, blah, blah. College scholarships. Okay, so there's money in some way. And increased participation, which... esports are co-ed and inclusive and engage students who might not otherwise participate in school athletics or activities. So all those geeks sitting in the basement now can have friends.
They're trying to treat it like it sounds like as if it were part of the normal sports program for a high school. So Dr. Carissa Niehoff, she's the executive director for NFHS, says we have an opportunity to engage students in the life of the school with an activity that they might already be participating in on their own. Now we bring that interest and activity together to combine it with all the elements of sport that are so special. Teamwork, camaraderie, collaboration, storylines, excitement, and connection to a group. And so they have their own little club leagues and League of Legends has already been a part of that. But then Smite and Rocket League are jumping on this in February of next year as well. So, and our own Q and I were talking about this, she said, you know, if esports were doing this type of stuff when I was in high school, I probably would have been a lot more interested in high school.
I'm thinking like just realistically, if they had like a Dungeons and Dragons team when I was in high school, I'd have been all over that.
Yeah, I would have definitely been on a Rocket League team.
Yeah.
Only esport that I'm actually good at, so.
Yeah, I don't know if I would have done the esports, but our high school did have a games club, so we did do some D&D and stuff. And
we had Knowledge Bowl. It was like trivia.
Oh, yeah, we did that too. Yeah, we did Knowledge Bowl.
That was awesome.
Speaking of TV channels, when we were talking about ESPN earlier, Tencent is now partnering. Gee, imagine that. Tencent partnering with somebody with blockchain esports entertainment platform Sliver.tv to create a 24/7 Ring of Elysium esports channel. Jason, they are just all in on this title.
So I actually looked at their site too. I looked there and I looked at their thing. First of all, it's just like embedded Twitch streams. That's mostly what it is right now. But you can also like, and this is where I guess the blockchain stuff comes in. Like they have on the side, like I'm watching a guy stream, and he's playing Ring of Elysium, and it's like you can get tickets or tokens or something for signing up. Then you can wager your tokens to win loot. The question right now is, will this guy get a victory by 2 p.m. Pacific? Yes or no? And I guess if I'm correct, I get like 3 times my tickets or something or other. So That's
I wonder
kind
if
of
those-
neat. Like Twitch should actually do that. That would be awesome. Like you could wager bits on people or something.
Yeah, but don't you have to pay for bits?
Well, yeah, that's how bits work. I don't know how this stuff works. Like how much of it comes in. Free.
Yeah, I was gonna say, doesn't this start to like tread into
Well, that's true. I guess-
the
yeah, I
whole
guess bits would be a
gambling
little
loot
wrong.
box area?
Well, that'd be like actual gambling too. That'd
Right.
be like money gambling. So, all right.
What are the
Something- they could
odds
have-
Zach
they
makes
could
it
have
to the
something.
helicopter? Right now, we're paying 7-1.
They could have something, some Twitch coins or something, whatever, that you could use to win prizes or whatever. So, something.
Either of you
Yeah.
played Ring of Elysium?
Yeah, I played a fair bit. I
No.
love Troy's first look, so I got into it a little bit. It's not bad.
Zach, you had a thought there. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just like the blockchain portion of it. I wonder whether or not that coin is like actually, or that token is actually on any exchanges, because then it would be gambling because
Right.
you're gonna possibly get a monetary return from it. And then also, if it's not, I wonder if you can like use the client and just find your private key and get the wallet from it. Like the fact that it's in blockchain kind of opens up some interesting angles there. But I don't know. It's another streaming site that a lot of people probably won't even use, but it's interesting that Tencent is partnering with them.
They are all in on a Ring of Elysium.
I can win tickets by following them on Twitter. Oh man,
Yeah.
Jason and his damn prizes.
sorry, I'm done with this cast right now. I gotta watch this.
All right, well, I'm going to let Zach talk for a few minutes anyway, because before we head over to the weekly bombs, we posted a couple first looks this video. A couple
Yeah.
first look videos this week. We did Shroud of the Avatar, Troy Blackburn, checked that one out. But Zach, we're going to talk about the one you checked out, Korean beta for Lost Ark. It was our question of the week on last week's show, so we'll get everybody's opinions on whether it's coming to the West or not when we get to that segment. But tell us a little bit. Now, obviously, some people have been dabbling in this through Korean testing, and there's been other videos and stuff, but this was kind of the first time we saw the whole package put together, a more formal beta test, getting ready to launch in Korea. So, Zach, you jumped in and started checking it out. What were your initial thoughts for those of us that go, like myself, that, hey, I like Diablo. That looks like a really sexy, pretty Diablo, but I don't know much more about it because I can't speak Korean. Tell us about it, Zach.
It's the best parts about Diablo in terms of the responsiveness of the combat. The graphically, it looks very clean. I would say it looks way better than Diablo, but Diablo has always had a very clean graphical art style and the polish of Diablo. But then it also has the best features of, say, a Mu Legends, where it's open world areas and more MMO oriented. So it combines both of those, puts it in a polished package that is very AAA quality. I mean, the game they had a massive budget for this thing. It has a story just riddled throughout the entirety of it. The graphics look really nice despite being an Unreal Engine 3. The performance is just ridiculously good, and somehow,
And that was you
I'm
playing from the
central-
United States on Korean servers. You were still having
Exactly. Even though I'm over in Central Washington, or Washington, Central North America, I have no idea
Central
how.
Washington.
I mean, you think you're
Yeah,
still on
like-
the West Coast.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he
No
thinks
idea.
he's in the West Coast in a totally different place than where he lived when he was on the West Coast.
Anyhow, I have no idea how it was so responsive throughout the entirety of me playing it. I mean, it was just so polished throughout the entirety, and I had a hard time stopping playing it. I mean, I stretched my gaming nights out longer than I normally do and suffered in the morning because of it, because it was so fun. I couldn't stop playing it. So I'm looking forward to its launch in the West. And when it does launch, whatever the top package is, unless it's extraordinarily expensive, like $1,000, I'll be buying it. So it's, as long as they put one at 200, they got my 200.
It looked really good, obviously. We've seen footage of it before, and that hasn't changed since then. It is surprising how good it looks when you factor in that it is on Unreal 3. Some people aren't going to like, though, that it is gender-locked.
Yep.
They're not going to like that. And that's just a personal flavor. It doesn't bother me at all. But if gender locking bothers you, you're going to have to deal with that. Jason, I know you're not huge on ARPGs, but what did you think taking a look at this first look?
I thought it looked really nice. If I was into ARPGs, I think it's something I would definitely go for. Especially because Yeah, it's like the two big ARPGs I think of right now are Diablo and Path of Exile, and they're so gory and bloody and dark and so on. And when I first turned on his video, he's like going through some pretty forest or something. I was like, that's nice. I like seeing that as a slightly different aesthetic to what we usually see. So
well, then you're going to see a very different aesthetic when Torchlight Frontiers comes out, kind of doing the same Lost Ark thing, mixing the ARPG with the MMO elements.
I do have one question for you, Zach. You said the two of the classes were warrior and fighter. What the heck is the difference?
So it's kind of like the fighter's kind of like sort of like I would say a monk in a sense, like it's sort of fist fighting.
Okay.
Where the fighter uses weapons, so like two-handed sword and like
warrior uses weapons. You mean?
Yeah, warrior uses weapons.
So I just think fighter. I think of the D&D, fighter. So armor guy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, we know they've all said, and they've said this for years, we want this to be a global enterprise and all that stuff. We want to bring it to the West. They said the same thing about Bless Online years and years and years ago. So we always hear, hey, we want to bring this to the West. We want this to be a global thing. 9 times out of 10, it doesn't work out. Predictions.
Star Online too.
Shut your mouth. Predictions. Let's lock them in now. Zach, does this come to the West and when?
100% comes to the West, mid-2019, early 2020. This company knows what they're doing. I fully believe in them.
So then let's lock yours in at it's definitely coming to the West, and how about if we say testing sometime next year?
Yep.
If not a full launch, at least testing in the West sometime next year.
Yep.
All right. Jason?
I say definitely coming, but I'm going to push it back a bit. I think more like early to mid-20.
Jason, I think I'm going to go with you. I think it's definitely coming to the West. I think they've spent too much time on it at this point for it not to at least attempt launches in other global regions, a la a Bless, right? They've spent so much time on it, you have to launch it other places. But I kind of agree with you. Maybe we'll see a Western test. I don't know if Zach, if I'm as optimistic about 2019 as you on that testing. So I'll push to 2020 as well.
Zach just wants it. He wants it now.
He does.
I do.
He does.
I do. But want to know what got me to be so optimistic? The fact that they're skipping China, and on top of that, the game is so polished already that they just literally have to translate it, and it's good to go. Like it won't take much effort for them to get it over here, and. Also, another thing, Diablo, flat on its face at BlizzCon. So that incentivizes them monetarily to get over here as soon as possible because people want an ARPG, and this is a very pretty-looking ARPG, and it's really good on top of that.
We'll just have to cross our fingers about monetization.
Yeah. It's funny what you said. Aren't all games skipping China right now?
Yeah. I mean, even Square Enix pulled a bunch of products out of there, yeah? Yeah, that's funny, isn't it? Even Tencent. Let's slide over and do the weekly bombs. I'm going to go first since we were talking about ARPGs. I'm going to give first off an A-bomb to losing Stan Lee. Very sad. And some of the artist stuff, by the way, is just like, oh my God. Brings a tear to the eye. But on the plus side of things, I do want to give a dub-bomb to Torchlight Frontiers being announced as free-to-play. That's definitely right up my alley. It's what they originally wanted to do way back when, and now it looks like they're going to be able to do that. They're saying all the right things about monetization right now, but of course, every company says all the right things. We'll see what happens. I also want to give a really weird bomb to WildStar. I thought it was... This past week, they released a bunch of plot and concept information of stuff that they were going to put in the game but never made it. And while I think that that's cool, like in some of these books back here with the art and stuff, you're like, oh, these things never made it to game, but they were being considered. I think it's a bit weird to put that out. It seemed very much like, this is all the stuff we wanted to do, but the company didn't let us do it. It just seemed very weird to me the way that they were releasing that. It's something I think if they were going to release it, while cool and interesting, it should have been released after the game closed down. By the way, here's a bunch of stuff we were working on. Maybe I'm being too sensitive on that one. I just thought it was weird. It didn't rub me the wrong way or make me feel good. I just think that's a weird thing to put out. Jason, you're up.
I'm going to have to give an A-bomb this week. Now, there's a sports writer I follow on Twitter. I won't get into who he is or whatever. Nobody knows who he is here probably. Really good, really smart guy. Talks about football. Talks about the Vikings a lot. Really respect a lot of his views, but he has recently come up with something that I just cannot abide by. A really atrocious viewpoint that he has. And that is that he thinks turkey is a garbage meat and shouldn't be served on Thanksgiving.
I know exactly who you're talking about.
Okay, well, good. And I have to give an A-bomb to him for that view, because turkey is awesome. Freshly carved turkey. And then you have it for days afterwards. You make sandwiches afterwards. Or you just take some and you just take it afterwards. It's good stuff. It is really the other white meat. Or wait, if chicken is the first, then no wait, because turkey's a white meat too, I guess. So
yeah, so pork is the other white meat.
Who likes pork?
Yeah, I am a big turkey fan too, so I feel the same as you on this one. Zach, you're up.
Yep, turkey's amazing. But I'm going to give a dub bomb to older MMOs because for some reason I'm in an older MMO kick right now. I've been playing Ion a decent bit, about 25-ish hours.
Right?
And yeah, right?
Yes!
Right? But I'm already decided as soon as I hit 80, I'm done with it. But that's mainly because the nostalgia's starting to wear off and I'm starting to realize why I stopped playing Ion to begin with. So, but it's been great going back and just hearing the sounds and seeing characters run around that, you know, I'm definitely familiar with, like the Asmodeans and the Helios, and just being back in that universe has been just a blast. So
I will say this, I've been enjoying Ion now that the new patch or the new update is launched as well. If you left Ion simply because of the grind, that was your reason. You love the game. You thought it was pretty. You like this. You like this. You like this. But it was just too grindy for you. And then a few years ago, when they added the fast track servers that you could switch to and get extra experience, and in a lot of cases, I still felt that was too grindy at certain points as well. If that's the reason, you come back. Come back. You will, in half an hour, you will have your wings. You'll be level 10. You'll be level 15. It is so stupid fast now that I know Jason's counterpoint to that would be, why was it there in the first place then? Why was it there in the first place? And you're absolutely right. I agree with you. But if that was the sole reason, it is so fast now, isn't it, Zach?
Yeah, it's starting to slow down now that I'm level 50 or so. But it's
still
really
so
fast.
much faster than it was.
Yeah. My only issue with it is the mobs are so weak at my level right now that I go through like one rotation and it's done. Yeah. But that's my only thing. My cat just keeps meowing right now. He wants to be in the podcast. I don't understand. But to continue my bomb, I also am going to be playing Lotro as well. And that game's launcher is absolutely abysmal.
Oh yeah, it always has been.
But, yeah.
We actually got the thing from Daybreak to talk about all the sales on all their games. It included Lotro, so
yeah,
check that out if you're looking for those.
Jason, you might have a friend to play with finally.
No, then I'd have to play.
Yeah, and I'm not sure how long I'm going to play it, but it does seem graphically more clean than Ion is in its current state. So
roll on Arkenstone just in case.
All right.
From the viewers, Hydrex Sky Shadow says, if my English is even more off the other times, that's because I'm very tired. Got about 6 hours of sleep in the last 5 days. So yeah, I'm sorry for my most definitely horrendous English. Hydrex, if English is your second language, you're already far ahead of my second language, so don't worry about it. Dub-bomb for Warcraft 3 Reforged. I agree. I mean, this was the game that I grew up with, finished it at least 200 times. As for multiplayer, I'm still playing. From PvP to custom games, I'm not good. I'm next to garbage, but I just can't let it go. God, I just can't wait for it to get released. I do have a question. You at some point were planning to go do top X lists. What happened to that? Is that idea the bottom list, or was it just discarded? We actually did those. We did them. We were doing the one a week, and we did it for 2 or 3 months, and they were all over the board, like top 5 games of this, or top 5 silly weird things, stuff like that. Nobody read them. Just to put it bluntly, nobody read them, and more work went into them than it was worth, so they got discarded. Maybe they'll come back. Who knows? Jason.
Well, at the very least, we're coming up on the end of the year, so we'll definitely have some top 10 lists.
Oh, yeah.
So
those will still do.
For sure.
Yeah.
Lurch 2000 says, so Arcade is going to restore to basically a failed game. As far as them being shady, that shouldn't be a huge surprise. Do you not remember the server add-on people couldn't log into and claimed it was a smooth launch?
I do. Zach.
Israel Sword says, wouldn't doubt in the not so distant future you guys will be covering some free-to-play Blizzard mobile games. Yeah. Can't wait. Lol.
No.
Well, we already covered Hearthstone. That's on mobile.
Yeah, I guess. One-Eyed Wanderer says, Bless runs like arse. People won't play a game that runs so poorly. Arcade, so much potential, it's unreal. And I've already played Diablo Immortal. It's called Champions of Light. Yeah, and you and many others had that point of view when they saw some of it. Jason, go ahead.
Cyberpunk Girl says, we are missing Zach so much.
There he is. Cyberpunk Girl. I'll give you a couple extra seconds. All right, Zach, go ahead. Take the next one.
All right. The black, it would or black. I have no idea.
The black
weed or something like that. I have no idea.
I don't know.
Blackwood. Okay,
Blackwood.
We'll go with that. We'll go with that. I find it absolutely normal that the publisher world would not tell one of its customers or the publisher, the customer, that they do some sellout things. It's absolutely normal that company keeps such stuff absolutely to the minimum, people that have to know it. This companies even search for new employers when they already plan to let 100 people go next month. They do anything that's not even rumors start, because then people stop working, searching other jobs, etc. They want people focused on working on the product till the day something changes. Okay.
There's still more.
Oh, God. They are two separate companies. So if not even one employer in their own company that is not in management gets any hint about it, why would they tell a separate different company about it? I would be shocked if they would tell them before, to be honest. Why the hell would they?
All right, so if you haven't parsed out what the Blackwood is talking about, that is in reference to our conversation last show about Arcade and XL Games reacting to the sale of Tryon Worlds and saying we had no idea this was going to happen, and we were surprised by this. And while generally I would agree with the Blackwood, when you try to perform a buyout or a merger or anything like that, that information is kept as close as possible, and it certainly doesn't go to external companies that aren't yours. This I have to disagree with a little bit, because this is a contractual developer-publisher situation. You have a contract that you have to give that third party certain information that the contract terms are going to be changing up to and including the contract holder themselves. So there needed to be some communication, even if it was at just a very, very high level, one or two stakeholders at XL Games. I was stunned to see that XL Games, the top of the food chain at XL Games, was saying we had no idea. I would have been totally with you if a community manager for XL Games had said we had no clue. I believe that. You shouldn't have had any clue. A little bit stunning that the top of the food chain didn't know about a potential, hey, by the way, you got to go renegotiate your contract. Whoa, that's not the way contracts work. That's not the way they work. And the time
frame on it is what I wonder about too. Like when Jake Song said he was surprised by it, does that mean he read a news article about it, or?
Well, his exact quote was, "We were just as surprised to hear about it as you were."
Yeah, it sounds like they didn't get any headway on it. So okay, all right, yeah, that is. I mean, it's one thing if 2 days before they put it down, he hears about it, and then okay, I'm surprised, but at least you got to tell them before you sign the papers.
Yeah, and to Blackwood's point, I'm not saying that they would have been part of any of the negotiations or something. A week notice on, hey, next week we're announcing this. I totally agree with the Blackwood. That's typically what would probably happen. But, no notice. That is weird. Sokapek says, I want to give a dub bomb to Mr. Jason Winter. Well, here, let me bring him up on screen while I read. Jason, you can just sit there
Zach
with your
has
smile.
fans, I have fans.
Yes, you do. Mr. Jason Winter is very picky. I am also very picky. Mr. Jason Winter likes Guild Wars 2. I also like Guild Wars 2. So when I heard Mr. Jason Winter was enjoying MapleStory 2, I ignored its repulsive Kawaii. Yeah, go for it. To give it a go. And damn, it's a good game. Sure, your eyes will bleed from all the cuteness, but the game is fast-paced, fair, innovative, and fun. Thank you, Mr. Jason Winter. Wow.
All right. So, Capex, you better be having turkey for Thanksgiving. We're going to go with everything I think.
Since we got you on the screen, finish it off, Jason.
To call $23.99, it says, the bond to the passage of time. By the time you read this, most likely, Mike, well, you're wrong there, we'll be 1 day away from North American Fan Fest. Fingers crossed for Blue Mage DPS. A bond to time machine is not existing. It needs to be the 16th right now.
All right, so the comment was off in a number of ways. Since we didn't have a show last week, I'm now reading this. Not even reading it. Jason did, and we're doing it after FanFest. Blue Mage was announced. I am very excited. Even though it is its own solo kind of thing, I think that makes perfect sense for putting some class in there that fans wanted, but all of us had concerns on how do you make it viable for raids. You don't. You put it in there as its own solo thing and have it be its... I love it. I love it. I'm very happy with it. Question of the week last week. With open beta in South Korea starting, will Lost Ark make it to the West? Why or why not? And more importantly, when? Hydrex Sky Shadow says, question of the week. Right. That was the thing. Yeah, sure. It's probably going to get here in about 5 to 6 years. I mean, it took them 6 years to get the game in a playable state, but as things are going right now, it's probably going to be a mobile release by the time it gets here. Blasphemy. Don't you dare say that. Jason, go ahead.
Excel Kobayashi says, question of the week. The Lost Ark devs have said in interviews that their goal is to expand globally after the Korean market.
We mentioned that.
But there's nothing concrete yet. I'd like to think we'll get an announcement sometime next year and maybe a beta in late 2019.
Oh, Excel going with you, Zach. Go ahead.
Squeezy mentions, I hope Lost Ark launches in the West within a year after its full launch in Korea. As long as my.com is not the publisher, I'll surely play it and maybe even buy a Founders Pack. Even if Aria Games ends up being the publisher, it will still be better than my.com. And I 100% agree.
I would too. Well, Area Games is basically Gamigo now anyway, so...
Pretty much, yeah.
Go ahead. Last one. Zibis. I'd say Lost Ark has a prime chance to capitalize on the ARPG market and even the MMORPG market in the West. With no Diablo 4 in the near future, and the huge flop of Diablo at BlizzCon, as well as having no real competition right now other than Path of Exile. Also, many Black Desert Online players are quitting and looking for something new. I think with all of that combined, it could have great success in the West, so kind of pulling from both the ARPG vacuum and people dumping other MMOs and... put them all in one place. Lots of interesting feedback. Our question of the week this week, Warframe is now on the Nintendo Switch, but you can't have your account on PC and on the Switch, but you can, for a limited time, migrate your PC account to the Switch. So I gotta ask, would you? Would you? The Switch offering the mobility, the PC offering the better graphics and performance? It's kind of a toss-up. I think this one's going to depend on how you play the game. But would you migrate your Warframe PC account to Switch? Why or why not? Let us know in the comments below. Until next show, Zach, where can everybody find you, sir?
Everyone can find me on Twitter at Zach Sharps.
Easy enough. Mr. Winter?
I'm on Twitter at Winter Informal, streaming at twitch.tv/JasonWinter.
I'm Mike Byrne. You can follow me personally right there at magicman1 over on Twitter, but more importantly, while you're there, follow at MMOBomb so we can send you tweets about all the latest interviews, giveaways, articles, videos, podcasts, and more. Until next week, gang, stay safe, and we'll see you on the servers. If you're celebrating, happy Thanksgiving.
Eat turkey.